hillbilly crime. You can't hide from hillbilly crime. You can't hide from hillbilly crime. You can't hide from hillbilly crime. May not know that there's a crew in town. The head hillbillies are making their rounds. Small town whispers loud and clear. The sheriff shot the judge in his chambers chair.
Sheriff got a secret he won't keep. Judge shot dead in his disbelief. A lot of people have some stories to tell. Dog passed away, get the sound of a shotgun shell.
All the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground. Rumors fly and they can't be bound.
Neighbors hide behind their blinds. Whisper tales of troubled minds. Skeletons covering the mountainside. A treacherous reality in the pines.
Wind reveals the hidden lies. Moonlight couldn't mask the cries. Shadows caught in sunlit skies. There's no cover, no disguise. All the secrets spilled on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground. Rumors fly and they can't be bound. Reveals the hidden lies. Moonlight could mask their cries. Shadows caught in sunlit skies. There's no cover, no disguise. All the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground. Rumors fly and they can't be bound.
All right. Woo-hoo. Every time that I hear that song, it gives me the feel goods.
I'm glad.
Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the channel. If you've not been here before, my name is Elizabeth, and this is Sweet Tater, and this is Hillbilly Crime. How you doing, Mommy?
Well, I'm doing just fine this fine day. We're having snow after we had a big old flood. And the neighbors and the mayor and whoever that guy is that's head of the county, I call him the mayor, but that's not what he is. He's something else. They were all down here at McRoberts working on our hill slide.
McRobert.
They got my internet working last night.
Good. She's
The
been
magistrates were down there. There's a big list of people.
well, good. McRoberts got hit, and Neon got hit really, really hard with the flood the other day. And then right behind that, we had freezing weather and snow that came. So people.
Yeah, but this is the end of it. This is the end of it. When we get through this, I think Saturday and Sunday is going to be warmer. We are done, they said.
Hopefully, yes. A lot of people were still dealing with the damage from the last flood. So prayers, all the prayers that anybody wants to say or send are very appreciated. Definitely. We've got a whole host of people already here tonight. Everybody come on in. Thank you for being here. So last night we started reading Ben Field's his deposition testimony. We got through most of it last night. I think I read like 130 pages yesterday. So there's not that much left to read on his direct exam. And there's only 2 pages I saw for the cross-examination. And a little birdie shared a little information with me earlier today and said that they thought that Ben's mom was a former state auditor. Have you ever heard that, Mom?
Well, I didn't know she's an auditor, but she's a big, influential woman in the county. I knew that.
Well,
I love her. She's a wonderful person.
And everybody that I've ever heard speak of her speaks of her that way. Everybody speaks very highly.
I knew that old uncle, and I knew right away he was a nasty old man.
Well, and in the deposition that we read last night, the implication that what I perceived by the way that the lawyer asked the question was that whoever the romantic relationship was with, the uncle, okay, that's a really bad sentence. Whoever the girl was or the woman was that the uncle was in a relationship with, the way that I took that questioning in that deposition, unless I took it wrong, was the girl he was accused, the minor that he was accused of the sexual behavior he did in the
Firehouse
was her daughter. Which doesn't surprise me because this other big wig that got charged with a bunch of sexual crimes, it was his girlfriend's daughters that he got in trouble for. I saw a post on Facebook the other day, and this guy says, "Oh, well, praise God, my ex-old lady just hooked up with so-and-so. I guess I don't have to worry about no Irvy pays being around her." And I was like, it's usually the people that you least expect that ends up doing these kinds of things. But anyway, so in the deposition, the lawyer, Sabrina's lawyer, asks him about a certain female prisoner. And it was, or not a prisoner, she was a house arrest. She was on house arrest. It was the uncle's girlfriend who apparently they had fallen out, right? And the uncle was in charges, under charges. That woman, Ben was her supervisor. And when she put in for a request to go to her mother's candlelight memorial service, Ben denied her and said no, she wasn't allowed to go. But yet he can leave the bracelets off Sabrina, and he can go out and do whatever he wants.
Well,
It ain't got nothing to do with Sabrina. I just mean, he can do what he wants to do and run that program.
well, of course he can, because he's in the position. She has no voice and she has no position, and the uncle didn't want her to go to that, so she wasn't allowed to go.
Well, it was retaliation, Mommy.
That's exactly right. But I don't have anybody I can retaliate on. Do you?
I don't have no position, and I sure don't.
That's exactly right.
And it sure doesn't make me feel better and feel good about myself to put another person down. Sometimes
Me either. That not everybody feels like you.
Well, I know. Shirley says, love from Greenwood, South Carolina. And remember, none of this would even come out. If the courthouse chaos hadn't happened down there, this deposition was taken the week before Mickey went into the courthouse and pew-pewed the judge. So it says on Ben's, and I wasn't aware of this until I looked at the dates on them. So Mickey sat for his deposition 3 days before he went in and pew-pewed the judge. Ben's deposition was taken on September 11th. So that would have been 4 days before Mickey's. And in Ben's deposition, they asked him what he had done to prepare for his. And he said that he had read Sabrina's. I didn't pay attention to what the date was on Sabrina's, but I'm guessing hers was first if Ben had read it.
Well, now, would that be right for him to be able to read her deposition before he gave his?
Well, I don't know.
Well, I wish somebody had found out.
There's a whole lot of blatant contradictions in both of these investigations or reports. So you've got everything that we heard and read in the Kentucky Attorney General's report, his investigation that he did on Ben, which was the basis for the criminal charges against him. And then you have all of this evidence in the civil case. And a lot of these claims and statements just don't seem to be jiving with me in how all of this has come about, been reported, been investigated. We found out in Mickey's testimony that whenever he got the phone call from the reporter who asked him about this civil case, that was how he says he found out about it, period. He hadn't heard hide and hair of it until then. Well, and he said that he got all of his information together and he sent it to the state police to have the state police come in and investigate these accusations against Ben. And they said, oh, no, we can't do that. We're not getting involved in that. We're too close to your department. So they declined. Well, the way that it kind of is portrayed, or at least that's the way that I felt it was being portrayed, was that all these people down in Whitesburg got on the phone and they were calling the Attorney General's office to report this accusation and to have an investigation happen. That's not what it says in the Attorney General's report. With the public records requests that we got, you get the document that Sabrina's lawyer had sent to the Attorney General's office asking them to investigate this. You've had several statements from Ned Pillersdorf in different interviews that he's given on different shows, saying that that the Attorney General's office had never been too quick to jump and help him on a civil case or a civil rights case like this before, but on this one they did. So it makes you wonder, just where is that disconnect? Because these two things are not matching up. And that it's on, can't say that but I am speculating, and in my opinion, they're trying to circle the wagons and save their heinies because nobody knew Mickey was going to go down there and do what he did. And before Mickey did what he did, none of this stuff that nobody cared if anybody knew about this, because everybody's known about all kinds of things over the years and nothing ever happens. You see with Ben, look at how bad his behavior and his charges were. What was his consequences? 6 months in jail that he got to serve in his own house. The only thing that changed with him was his perimeter for 6 months. And I mean, what else? Had his wife down there see him anytime he wanted. He was immediately, within less than a week of being there, he was made a trustee. And I don't see where there's anything in his past that says he's very trustworthy, but okay. Sorry, I get a little carried away on that.
Well,
Dave says, I'm sitting here waiting for my newest favorite song. Oh, that was before we played it. Let me get down here to the bottom. Yes, if you don't care, stick your DNA on that like button for us. Let us get us some likes this evening. 239 watching, only 68 likes. Help us get them likes up, guys. It helps the show so much. Gets it out there to people who ain't seen us yet. We might like their opinions too. And something else that I'm going to start doing on some of our shows towards the end of it, if you want to, I'm going to start bringing people on the show and give you a minute or two to share your thoughts about this case. So when we get to the end, I'll let you know, and you can drop your email address in the chat, and I will pick like 2 or 3 of them towards the end of the show, and we'll bring you on like Mommy is. You just click the link and it'll bring you on. Just make sure that you try to watch what words you use, so that way, you know, we're not tripping any kind of sensitivity button. And behave yourself.
be nice.
Behave yourself. That's
and
right.
Don't use any bad words.
All right. So here we go. Yes. Let me get, we're going to pick it back up where we were at last night. All right. So they took a break. We are back on the record. The question that I have for you is, did you ever engage in any flirtation communications with Brianna Cornett? And are you ready to answer that question? Yes, you did? Okay. What was the time period when you engaged in those flirtatious communications with Brianna? I don't know the actual dates. Well, let's start here. Did it occur when you were a home incarceration officer? Yes. Did it occur while you were also a deputy sheriff? Yes. Did those flirtatious communications begin prior you taking off her ankle, her off home incarceration? Let me prefix that. Prior to you tampering with her monitoring device. Mr. Kelly, and remember, Mr. Kelly is his attorney. I am sorry. What was ultimately the question? Let me repeat it. Did the flirtatious communications begin prior to you tampering with her monitoring device? Yes. Okay. Did you at any time give Brianna Cornett a fake or dummy ankle monitor? I never gave her a fake one. It was just one that was deactivated. Okay. And at what time period did you give her the deactivated ankle monitor? When I had her deactivated. And that was for a period of how many days? I believe just a couple. And what did you tell Patty Stockham, if anything, about why she has been deactivated? Just that she was to be took off house arrest. So you told Patty Stockham that she has been taken off house arrest by the judge? Yes. And that was a lie, correct? Yes. And then, I guess a couple of days later, you turned around and told Patty Stockham, okay, we have to reactivate her now? I believe so. When you engaged in flirtatious communications with Brianna Cornett, did she ever send you any photos of herself? Not that I can remember. Have you ever been alone with Brianna Cornett in the judge's chambers of the Letcher County Courthouse? No. So do you deny that you have ever kissed Brianna Cornett? Yes. Did Patty Stockham that she wanted to revoke Brianna Cornett's home incarceration? See, they're missing words, and it's awful. Whoever this court reporting people are, don't use them. Did Patty Stockham that she wanted to revoke Brianna Cornett's home incarceration? I can't remember. Did you ever tell Brianna Cornett that she did not have to pay her home incarceration fees? No. Did Brianna Cornett always pay her home incarceration fee? As far as I remember, yes. And she would meet you at the courthouse every week to do that? Yes. Did you ever send any sexual, explicit communications to Brianna Cornett? Like a message? Yeah. Mr. Kelly, do you know the message? Ms. Baxter, I don't need to answer your questions. I am asking him questions. Mr. Kelly, I don't understand what sexually explicit is. It is confusing. And he's an attorney. Okay. Did you ever talk to her about oral schmecks? I can't remember. Did you understand what I mean when I said sexual explicit? Not really 100%. Okay. Well, if you are confused, you can let me know. Mr. Kelly, well, I'm going to let you know too. I will join in the chorus. Question. Were you aware that Christy Fultz contacted Mickey Stines at some point about your supervision of Brianna Cornett on home incarceration? Not that I can think of. Were you aware of anyone other than Christy Fultz contacting Mickey Stines about your supervision of Brianna Cornett on home incarceration? Not that I can think of. Do you know who Christy Fultz is? Is that her mother? Yeah, Brianna Cornett's mother. Did you at some point go and pick up Brianna and take her to the jail? Do you recall ever doing that? Yes. Why did you do that? She had violated her house arrest. But remember, he wasn't supposed to be arresting nobody that was outside of the courthouse. So what authority did he have to go to these people's houses and bring them to jail? He really didn't have any. But in Letcher County, you can create your own authority if you got the right friends, apparently. Okay. Why couldn't she have just turned herself in? She was, I can't remember, but she was at her mother's house and her mother contacted me to come and get her. Okay. So you went and picked her up and you took her to the jail? Yes. Do you recall having some of her belongings? I can't remember. Did you kiss Brianna Cornett in your sheriff's department vehicle? No. You deny that? Yes. And when you were picking Brianna up to take her to jail, was that because she violated the terms of her home incarceration? Yes. Okay. How had she violated them? I believe that she left the residence she was supposed to stay at, and her mother refused to let her stay with her. Okay. Do you recall what the residence was that she was supposed to be staying at? I do not. Are you aware of any relationship between Brianna Cornett and Judge Mullins? No. Do you recall there being any specific terms of Brianna Cornett's home incarceration that she was supposed to abide by? I'm not sure. Where would it be documented, if anywhere? Possibly on her bond decision. Okay, I have one document that I need to ask you about. Just wondering about the communication at the bottom. Again, I got these through open records. The name that I believe to be Brianna Cornett's name is redacted, but she is speaking with a woman named Christy Fultz, who is her mother. And it states at the bottom, October 16th, 2020. Hey, I am at the courthouse. I'm getting locked up again, but Ben said that he would get me straight back out. Do you see that? Yes. Do you recall telling Brianna Cornett that you would get her straight back out? Note an objection. I don't recall the particular thing. Okay, but this would have been after you had become a sheriff's deputy and home incarceration officer, correct? Yes. And would this have been after you had begun engaging in flirtatious communications with Brianna Cornett? I'm not sure. That is all that I have on that one. Did you know Brianna Cornett before becoming her home incarceration officer? Yes. How did you know her? From the jail and from the street. What do you mean by the street? Like seeing somebody out? Is she similar in age to you? I think she's close. But did you all go to high school together? I can't remember. Okay. What do you know about Christy Fultz? Not much. Well, what part of town do they live in, or what part of the county, rather? Currently, I don't know. Okay. Back in 2021, when I picked Brianna up from her house? Sure. It was Mr. Kelly. Now, which house are we talking about here? Christy or the one that she was at? Brianna's house or her mother's house? Christy Fultz. Either one. Her mother's house. Okay. Where did her mother live? The night that I picked her up, when her mother called me, was behind the Taco Bell in Whitesburg. Well, that's right, real close where he lives. Has there been any other occasion when Brianna Cornett was in your vehicle? Not that I know of. Okay, let's talk about Jennifer Hill for a minute. Do you recall Jennifer Hill being on home incarceration 2 different times? Yes. And the first time, when she was on home incarceration, I guess, it was back during the time period when had the plug into a phone line. Did you physically have to go to each of these persons' homes and install that box? No. Okay. So they could do that themselves? Yes. Okay. Do you recall going to Jennifer Hill's home to inspect the home and install a box at any point? Mr. Kelly, can you tell me what time period you are talking about? Just any time period. No. You don't remember doing that? Do you recall telling Jennifer Hill if she couldn't afford to pay for home incarceration, you could work something out? Mr. Kelly, during what time period? Ever. One of these he has been indicted on, and apparently one. If you are saying there are 2 occasions, I would like to know when that first or second occasion was, if we are going to be talking about did you ever. Because he has been indicted for one that is where a source of charges have since been dismissed. The others may not have been. And you all remember, Jennifer Hill, I'm going to stop for just a second. Jennifer Hill passed away. He was originally criminally charged for both women, for Jennifer Hill's and Sabrina Adkins. Jennifer Hill didn't live to see trial. They say she OD'd. I guess, I just don't. I think things that you can say are coincidences when it comes to situations like this. I just don't put much faith in it myself. Now, if you did not listen to the interviews, the recordings, the Kentucky Attorney General's recordings from their investigation, when they interviewed Jennifer Hill, she first came and said that she got out of jail and Ben propositioned her as soon as she got out of jail, telling her that if she couldn't pay for her ankle monitor, they would work something out. She said no. She said, I told him no, my husband can pay for my ankle monitor. She said the next day or somewhere, he came and got her and took her back to jail because she turned, and this is just my opinion, but it was because she turned him down. Because she said no to his proposition, she ended up back in jail. Jennifer Hill claims a couple different times he did this to her. Now, Sabrina is the one that he went and swore out a fake escape warrant on. So it's not a stretch of the imagination to think that he would put Jennifer Hill back in jail if she wasn't willing to play ball. So, just to catch everybody up on that. Butterfly kisses. I will never believe she passed away on her own. I want to see the reports. I'd like to see her toxicology report. I would love to see that and just look and see. I mean, I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm just saying, look and see what it says.
Did they do a blood analysis?
Well, of course, that they would have to for them to be able to come out and say she OD'd. That they would have had to have done an autopsy and stuff like that and done blood work. But here's the things. When it comes to stuff like that, they can look and see, is this a substance that she was known to do? Was this something that she even, was known for doing? And look at the levels of it. Is the level something that would be, an accidental OD? Or is it 9 or 10 times a lethal dose? Those kinds of things matter. I mean, it's not conclusive.
How would you get the toxicology report?
I don't know. I don't know. Public records, maybe, but I don't know if they would even term something like that.
Because that's kind of personal.
Death certificates. I know you can order death certificates, but I don't. I don't know. That's what we need our diggers for. So if you all are wanting to be a digger, send us.
I wonder who got her body.
It's a good question.
They'd have the ability to know that.
Yeah, those are really good questions, Mommy. Yes, Sweet Tater on tonight. She had a class last night, so she couldn't join us. All right. You were only a home incarceration officer for a period of 4 or 5 years, correct? Actually, no. It is less than that, isn't it? 3 or 4 years. So in that 3 or 4 year period, do you recall ever telling Jennifer Hill that if she couldn't afford to pay her home incarceration fees, you could work something out? Mr. Kelly, again, note an objection. I like being Mr. Kelly. Both as to the form of the question, and again, this may be an instance where you want to invoke your Fifth Amendment rights, because I don't know about 2 occasions. I only know about this one. And Mr. Kelly, has several different times through this deposition reminded Ben about his Fifth Amendment rights. And remember, Ben was only criminally found liable for Sabrina Adkins. So if he says anything or incriminates himself with anybody else, he sets himself up for more criminal charges. So it's very, very important that he don't say the wrong thing in this deposition or at any time. He already made a big boo-boo and talked to the Attorney General's detective. No. Do you recall a time whenever you arrested Jennifer Hill? I recall a time when I had to take her back to the jail. Okay, explain to me what you recall and why you had to take her back to the jail. The sheriff's office received a call from her neighbor that stated that they were stealing power off of their neighbor's house. And myself and another deputy went up to check on it, and they was. They had an extension cord ran from their residence to the other residence, and the owner of the residence said they did not have permission. And because she didn't have any source of power, because I had to unplug it, she had to return to jail until she was able to get a residence to have that.
I see.
And where was that residence where that occurred, where that arrest occurred, or when you picked her up, rather? It was in Letcher County, but I'm not sure of the exact address. Okay, when you referenced they, were you talking about Jennifer Hill and Chris Triplett? Yes. Do you recall Jennifer having any roommates also? Not that I know of. Okay. Who was the other deputy that you went out there with? I believe it was Mike Infuse. Who? Mike Infuse. Can you spell that for me? Enfuse. Was he with the Letcher County Sheriff's Department? Yes. Let me look at this with you. So is this one of these bond forms that you were referencing earlier? This is the paperwork where that she posted bond. Okay, I'm trying to figure out. I see where it says must abide by HIC rules, not HI. Not HBIC, HIBC. What is it? Hillbilly in charge, HBIC. I see where it says must abide by HIC rules and regulation and make all court appearances. Do you see that? Yes. Are those terms as dictated or determined by the judge, or who has the authority to make those conditions? The judge. So Judge Kraft, since we are in circuit court with this one, Judge Kraft would have said these are the terms and she was able to post a bond. So she got released on home incarceration, correct? Mm-hmm. Yes. And then I see down at the bottom Amanda Sexton. Who's Amanda Sexton? She's a deputy jailer. So would this document get generated at the time that you show up to put her on home incarceration or sometime prior thereto? This is the bond that gets filled out whenever they get released from the jail. Okay, so this would have been filled out at the time that you showed up to put her on home incarceration? It could have been filled out before. Okay. Do you remember whether you put Jennifer Hill on home incarceration, whether you put the ankle monitor on at the jail or somewhere else? It was at the jail. Okay. Do you have any recollection of doing that? I do not. And it looks like the address that I'm seeing here looks like out on Sargent or Sergeant. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Road in Whitesburg. Is that the Jackhorn community? I'm not sure if it is Jackhorn. Do you recall her living out in Jackhorn? I can't remember. Do you recall showing up at Jennifer's home sometime after September 2nd of 2021 in response to a report that Jennifer had OD'd? I do. Explain to me why you would have shown up for and how that came about. It came across the scanner, the police scanner, that she was out in the street, passed out in the road, I believe. Now, and also, let me stop real quick and fill you in. If you did not listen to that testimony that Jennifer Hill gave to the Attorney General's investigation, she said that she was in her front yard, if I remember correctly, getting groceries out of her car, and in pulls Ben, Mickey, a whole bunch of cop cars, an ambulance, just a whole bunch. And she had no idea why they were there. And she said Ben was really upset and yelling at her and saying, something, whatever he was saying. I don't remember what she said. But she was basically saying that he came out there with this big show of force. The way that I interpreted it or perceived it was that he was showing her how much power he had. She had already turned him down, working something out. And he, you know how people, they want what they can't have. Somebody turns them down and it really makes them upset sometimes. That's kind of what it seems to me like. He had this chip on his shoulder that if you turned him down, he was going to make you pay for it. However he could. And he had the power, position, and the influence to do exactly that. All right.
Well, did they go out there to arrest her?
Well, we're getting ready. I don't remember. I don't think they arrested her that day, but he was yelling at her, telling her he could take her to jail. But we're getting ready to hear what he says happened right now. Do you recall where? It was at the residence that she was living at. But I think of the physical address. And you can't even understand some of this stuff because of the horrible transcription. Okay. Do you recall Sheriff Stines showing up on that occasion as well? I do not. And so were you out patrolling? Because I don't remember you saying that was part of your duties. I was not. Okay. What caused you to want to go to that scene? To see if she was impaired. Okay. Because you were her home incarceration officer? Yes. I heard on the scanner. So I drove my truck up there to see in case there was any type of violation. Okay. And you were saying that you weren't in your police car? You were in your truck? Yes. Do you remember where you were when that call came across your scanner? I do not. And had Jennifer indeed OD'd? Was she laying in the road when you got there? She was not. Okay. She was unloading groceries from her car, wasn't she? I'm not sure what she was doing. She was on the porch with Chris. An ambulance was there, and I believe either a Neon or Jenkins police officer was there. Of course, because anytime they hear something, every cop from the entire county goes. Just to be nosy. Did that incident when you showed up on that day, was that before or after you took her back to jail for stealing power from the neighbor? I believe it was after. So you think that stealing power from the neighbor happened sometime before this incident where she was on home incarceration and there was a call about her ODing? I think. Okay. Did you return to Jennifer Hill's house the day after you responded to that report of her having OD'd? No. Did you ever command Jennifer Hill to come out and get inside of your vehicle? No. Did you ever tell Jennifer Hill that you wanted oral schmecks from her? No. Do you recall Jennifer Hill having a roommate during this time period? I do not. I think that I know the answer, but have you ever had sexual intercourse with Jennifer Hill? No. Did you ever give Jennifer Hill permission to go and visit her newborn granddaughter in London, Kentucky? Do you recall that? I don't recall. Do you recall Jennifer Hill being taken back to jail for violating the conditions of her bond and her home incarceration? This would have occurred in October of 21. She violated her house arrest. She cut her bracelet off. I don't remember when they picked her up and brought her back in. You are saying that she violated her house arrest because she cut off her bracelet? Yes. How could you believe anything he says? Okay. And didn't give her permission to remove that ankle monitor before making the determination that there had been a violation? No. During this time period, October of 21, was your spouse, Angie Fields, still working at the jail? When was the date? October of 21. Yes. She was still working at the jail, correct? Yes. Did you ever go to the jail and tell Jennifer better keep her mouth shut? No. Do you recall going to the jail with Angie Fields and interrogating Jennifer Hill about other inmates at the jail? Yeah, buddy. His wife's a good one, ain't she? Were you aware when Jennifer Hill was released from jail, her cell phone was never returned to her? I was not. Do you know what happened to her cell phone? I do not. Have you ever talked about that with Angie Fields? No. Were you aware that Jennifer Hill in December of 21 was allowed to participate in drug court? Do you recall that? I don't recall. Okay. Your sister Holly, she works for the Letcher County Drug Court, correct? She did at that time? Yes. Does she still? Yes, of course. Were you aware that Chris Triplett made some reports to the Letcher County Sheriff's Department, your behavior related to Jennifer Hill? No. Mr. Kelly, do you have such report? Ms. Baxter, there is an affidavit from Chris Triplett. You do not have that affidavit, or you do have that affidavit. If you are going to ask him questions about, allegations made by somebody else, and you have an affidavit, we would like to see it. Ms. Baxter, it has been produced in discovery, and I don't have to show it to you. Yeah, you do. You don't try things by ambush. I'm not trying to ambush him. I was asking if he was aware of it. Let's just see the affidavit. What is the problem? I don't have it. Okay. And you have a copy of it. Okay. Do you ever turn in any paperwork related to completion of home incarceration for someone? Yes. And what does that paperwork look like? Or what is the point of that documentation? The show how many days credit that they had on house arrest. What is that credited towards, or why is that important? I guess the judge can credit towards their overall sentence if they are found guilty or plead. And do you do that for every person who is on home incarceration? Do you file a form regarding completion of home incarceration for each person? Yes. You did say Chris Triplett, right? Uh-huh. When do you recall meeting Sabrina Adkins for the first time? When I got her out on house arrest. Did you ever meet her at the jail at any time prior to that? No. I mean, unless that I was at the jail and she wanted to talk to whoever was over house arrest. I don't remember talking to her at the jail. Okay. Where were you when you first met her? At the courthouse. In what room at the courthouse? It would be in the lobby of the jail or the district courtroom. Okay. I guess, what do you remember about that initial meeting and conversation you had with Miss Adkins? Going over paperwork, I believe, putting a bracelet on her. I believe her sister came and got her and posted the bond. Okay. And where was she supposed to stay, or purposes of home incarceration? I can't think of the address. Okay. Was it Stacy Yates' house? Yes. Okay. Is part of the requirement that if you are on home incarceration in Letcher County, you are supposed to stay in Letcher County? Not necessarily. Okay. Help me to understand when you would have to stay, or why that would or wouldn't be the case. Well, if it is a person who is from another county and gets arrested in Letcher County, if they're within a distance that they can travel to meet me on Wednesdays to check in, and then we allow them to live outside of the county. Okay. And Sabrina Adkins, she was from Pike County, correct? I believe so. So do you know why she wasn't allowed to go back to Pike County? I don't know. Okay. So you put the ankle monitor on Sabrina Adkins at the courthouse, and to the best of your knowledge, did she go out to stay Yates's house? Yes. Did you go out to stay Yates's house yourself that evening? Yes. And why did you do that? I believe he called the sheriff's office saying that she wasn't allowed to stay there. I don't think there was any cell phone service there. I think that I tried to reach her by phone, but me and another deputy went out to that residence to try to get up with her. Okay, you and another deputy? Who was the other deputy? Jason Eccles. Let me stop that real quick, and I want to make a comment. Does any of this even sound appropriate? Like, why would they just turn anybody loose on house arrest and them not have a stable place to stay? You know, like these, it seems to me like these things would have to be approved before they put them out on house arrest. You know what I mean? Because of the way that they have willy-nillied this whole program, it's allowed them the waste, fraud, abuse type behaviors that
Well, there wasn't even any cell phone there. I
No,
mean, there wasn't
no.
any phone for her to be attached to.
Well, and they changed the type of equipment. It used to be dependent on a landline home phone in your house. And now they've changed it to like GPS bracelets. So they don't necessarily have to have a phone to have a
Oh,
bracelet.
okay.
But there are rules in like drug court and these kind of even when they get out on bond, a lot of times the conditions of their bond include that they're not allowed to hang out with felons. They're not allowed to hang out with anybody that would be considered like a co-defendant or something like that. If they're in drug court, they're not allowed to date each other, let alone live in the same house. And the way that this is coming across, like they let her out, she was going to stay somewhere, and then this boy just calls him on the phone and says, I don't want her in my house. Like, aren't there certain processes that you have to go through for stuff like that, like an eviction notice or something? I mean, it just doesn't seem to me to be all on the up and up here, which of course we know it ain't. But okay, and it just dawned on me something, what I said about bringing people on at the end. Don't put your email address in there. Just send an email to me, hillbillycrime@gmail.com, and just put in there, I want to come on or whatever. on the title, and I'll pick 2 or 3 out of everybody who emails. So if you don't get picked, it's okay next time. Okay. Sorry, y'all. I've done a lot of reading. My voice is turning into a frog. Okay. Who was the other deputy? Jason Eccles. So what happened when you got out there? We made contact with her and told her that Stacy called and said that she wasn't allowed to live at that residence. She told me that she had another residence close by that she could stay at, but she didn't have a ride to it. Was she crying? I can't remember. Do you remember her saying that she was worried she didn't have the funds to pay for the ankle monitor? And remember, they just turned her loose on it. They just turned her loose on the house arrest program. Was the other house?
Looks to me like she'd have had to pay before she got it. It wouldn't be pay after, it'd be pay before.
Well, I think they said her sister came and
paid for it. Okay.
The initial hookup fee. But then you got to be able to pay it. I mean, I understand a lot of people don't have jobs and you have to kind of dig it up through the week. But I just feel like this system makes victims ripe for the picking. You know what I mean? It puts people in very bad. Them allowing this and having this half-ass way program put together and a bunch of rummies running it. All it did was make a victim pool. I mean, basically. And we're only talking about a couple of women here. You don't know what other sexual retaliation or coercion or whatever. That's not the only kind of thing these people go for. What else was going on? Who else were they mistreating, taking advantage of, manipulating? You know, these are crimes of opportunity that he's doing. And I don't think it's just him. I think a whole lot of them was doing things that they shouldn't be doing. And if it ever was, which, like I said, it doesn't matter who knows it because nothing happens to them. Ben got 6 months in jail, y'all. There's the question. Why did Mickey go in there and do what he did? Whatever they were investigating him for, whatever he would have went down for, he wouldn't have got nothing. And if he would have took it to trial, he probably would have got acquitted because everybody loved him so much. It just don't make a lick of sense. There's something else that's much bigger that we're missing completely, I believe. Anyway, do you remember her saying that she was worried she didn't have the funds to pay for the ankle monitor? I don't remember that. Was the other house that you were referencing, was that Dale Martin's house? I believe so. I have another document here. This looks like to me like you reaching out to Dale Martin. Did you know Dale Martin before June 18th, 21? Not that I know of. Okay, but it looks like you reaching out to him. And I know it is redacted, but you are asking him if someone can stay at place. Do you recall whether this was you reaching out on Sabrina's behalf about her staying at Dale Martin's house? Yes. Okay. Is that a typical thing for you have done as a home incarceration officer to send a Facebook message to someone to see if someone on home incarceration can stay at their home? Whenever switching residence, it would be. I would always try to verify from the person that whoever it is that they are moving into that, it is okay for them to stay there. Well, then why didn't they do that with Stacey Yates before they caused this big old problem? See, that's a blaring contradiction. Okay. Did you often do that via Facebook? if didn't have the person's number. Okay. Did Dale Martin call you back at some point? I can't remember. But was Sabrina ultimately allowed to stay at Dale Martin's house? Yes. Did you make EKCS aware of the fact that her address had changed? Yes. Did you make Judge Kraft aware of the fact that her address had changed? I can't remember. So you have never had any run-ins with Dale Martin prior to this message, to the best of your recollection? Yes. Did you get to know better at some later date? No, not particularly. Do you recall approving Sabrina to go and see her son in Pike County? I can't remember. It is possible, but I can't remember. Okay. Would you have had to have gotten approval from the judge to have let her to do that? Mr. Kelly. Objection as to form. Go ahead. More than likely, yes. Okay. Mark this as Exhibit 16. So this looks to be some communications between yourself and, I believe, Sabrina Adkins, but it is redacted. Do you see that? Yes. Okay. And these are from September of 21. Do you recall by this time Sabrina Adkins was still wearing an ankle monitor or not? I don't think so. Explain to me what circumstances occurred that prompted you to take off her ankle monitor. She was asking me about going to rehab, checking herself in, and when I asked the judge about it, he said that she would have to wear the monitor while she was there. And she told me that she couldn't afford it and didn't have no family or friends that would help her with it. And so I felt bad for her and took the bracelet off to let her go to rehab. Did you let Sabrina Adkins know if she was unable to pay for her ankle that there were other ways that you guys could work something out? No. You never made a statement like that to her? Not that I can remember. Was Deputy Sheriff Eccles with you the entire time that you were at Sabrina Adkins's house that first night when you went out to Stacy Yates' home? Did you ride together? Yes. What car did you drive out there in? It was a police cruiser. Do you recall giving Sabrina some cigarettes that evening? Yes. How long were you there for that evening? Not long. Okay. When you left, did you leave Sabrina Adkins there? Yes. Was anyone there at the house aside from you, Eccles, and Sabrina? Not that I'm aware of. Well, that's a really stupid thing to do. Did you give Sabrina your cell phone number? My cell phone number, yes. Okay. And you guys started corresponding both via text and via Facebook Messenger, correct? Yes. And those communications were flirtatious in nature. Would you agree with me? Some of them. When was the first, or let's back up here. At some point where you were testifying earlier about agreeing to let Sabrina take off her ankle monitor, do you recall that? Yes. Did that occur at the courthouse? Yes. You took her ankle monitor off at the courthouse? Yes. Was that after hours? Was there anybody in the courthouse when you took that off of her? I can't remember. Okay, what room physically were you in the courthouse when you took off her ankle monitor? I'm not sure. District courtroom? I can't remember really. Did you take Sabrina into Judge Mullins' chambers that night? No. Do you recall telling Sabrina that you wanted to meet her in the judge's chambers because there's no cameras back there? No. You never at any point told her that? No. Is it true that there's no cameras back in the judge's chambers? As far as I knew at the time, I don't recall any being back there. Okay. So when you took Sabrina's ankle monitor off, what did you tell EKCS? I told them that she was being took off house arrest. Were you afraid that Patty might check the court records and learn that was not accurate? No. Were you aware that Patty Stockham never checked the Letcher County court records? I don't know if she did or not. BS. Did she ever give you any reason to believe that she checked the court records? Not that I can think of. Was that the first time when you told EKCS that Sabrina had been taken off of home incarceration? Was that the first time that you had ever told Patty Stockham that someone had been taken off of home incarceration, when in fact they had not been taken off? I believe so. But you did the same thing as to Brianna Cornett, correct? Yes. But it is your recollection that you told Patty Stockham that as to Brianna Cornett, after you first told Patty that as to Sabrina, it's getting a little confusing there, y'all. I got lost in there. So did Ben's lawyer. There's been 2 occasions when you told Patty that a person on home incarceration has been taken off home incarceration, correct? Yes. Are there any other times you ever told her that when it was not accurate? No. Those are the only 2 times. Yes. Okay. Which happened first, Brianna Cornett or Sabrina Adkins? I believe Sabrina. Okay. I can't remember. Okay. So the night that you met Sabrina at the courthouse and took her ankle monitor off, did you have any sexual contact with her on that date? No. Did you have any sexual contact with her at any point thereafter? Yes. We are talking about Sabrina now, right? Correct. Did that sexual contact happen at the courthouse? Yes. Did it happen in the judge's chambers? No. Where did it occur? In the bathroom by the secretary's office. So he's been getting all busy in the bathrooms. Is that the same bathroom where you had sexual contact with Angie Fields, your wife, or a different bathroom? A different bathroom. Okay. Where's this bathroom? It is next to the judge's secretary's office. Okay, how do you access the judge's secretary's office? Through the hallway behind the courtroom. Okay, so there's a hallway behind the courtroom. Do you have to go through the judge's secretary's office to get to the judge's chambers? Yes. And the bathroom is somewhere between the secretary's office and the chambers? No, it is right at the door where that you come into the secretary's office. Did you ask Sabrina to go into that bathroom with you? I can't remember. How many times were you in that bathroom with Sabrina Adkins? Once. One time. Do you remember when that occurred? I do not. Well, if it was the only time you ever did it, you'd probably remember. When we read yesterday's, the first part, he admitted to having schmecks with his wife, Angie, in the bathroom on the first floor, the public bathroom that all of us use at the courthouse. The time that you are referencing that you were in the bathroom, did you have sexual intercourse with Sabrina Adkins? Yes. Okay. Prior to that occasion, had there been any sexual contact? By that I mean touching, kissing, oral, anything. Had you had any sexual contact with Sabrina Adkins prior to that inaction in the bathroom? Is a hug a sexual contact? It can be, yeah. So are you saying that you have hugged her? I hugged her. Where did you hug her? I think either at the doorway of the secretary's office or the hallway leading to it. And that was on a different occasion? Yes. Okay. So why were you guys back in that area of courthouse in this different occasion when you were hugging her? I can't remember. How many occasions total were you in that area that includes the judge's chambers, the secretary's office, and the bathroom and the hallway? How many times were you in that area with Sabrina Adkins total? I don't know. More than 2? I believe so. And on those occasions when you are back in that area of the courthouse with Sabrina, was that after hours? Yes. Okay. And by after hours, to clarify, after 5 p.m., after 4, after 4 p.m., or after 4:30 in that area. So are you saying it was around 4, 4:30, or was it later? That is the after hours. Everything shut down around 4:30. And were there a time of day that you would typically meet Sabrina Adkins there? No. Okay. How were you able to access that portion of the courthouse? I was the bailiff. I had a key to the courthouse. So he had a key to the whole courthouse, the front door. Okay. Had you not been the bailiff and not had those keys, would you been able to get back there? I don't think so. Did Judge Mullins know that you were back there? Not that I know of. So there wasn't cameras in the judge's chambers, but there were cameras in the courthouse. So why didn't one of these, and outside of the courthouse, so why didn't one of these other cameras catch him sneaking in after hours with people, with women? And the camera would show where he's going. That just kind of seems a little odd, doesn't it? Or you'd think that somebody would have noticed it. Which, remember, what am I talking about? You know, everybody knew. They may not have known details of what each other was doing, but you better believe they all knew what each other was doing. Because they all acted the same way. They had the same humor. They all joked around and teased each other. Okay. Let's look at a couple of documents here. Let's look at this one. We haven't talked about this one, have we? Mr. Kelly. 16 was what I have as being the last. I'm looking at a message towards the bottom. It is you communicating with someone. I never got any texts. I have already tried texting you a couple of times. Your court is in circuit tomorrow, and it is all in person. So are you going to be in Whitesburg this evening? Do you recall sending that message to Sabrina Adkins? I don't recall sending it, but I can see that I did. Okay, but do you think that would have been sent to Sabrina Adkins? Maybe. Okay, we can read on and see if it refreshes your recollection at all. There is some reference. I'm looking at the 3rd page marked at the bottom of some numbers. There is a reference to putting a dog collar on for court. Do you see that towards the bottom? You have to put me back on my dog collar. Is that what you are talking about? Yes. And the response is LOL. Yeah, for court. That's exactly how he saw them women. You know he did. He saw, I'm just speculating here. It's just my own opinion. That's exactly how he saw them. He was putting dog collars on these people.
Well, you mean like a dog collar?
Yeah, he's talking about his ankle monitors, but they're calling it a dog collar.
Well, yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, they see, and this is they have said that this is funny, that, oh, we're just picking on each other. It's just the way that we joke around. It's the way we blow off steam. Well, not everybody. There is a certain thing called integrity, and a whole lot of law enforcement and any program, there's rules and stuff on integrity. They have
Well,
training. They have training on the integrity of agents. Like licensed,
that's right.
certified people. And he was he had to have been certified. He went to his trainings. He's that's what I've been saying this for a long time. They send all these cops and these people to these trainings, and it's a big party. They don't learn nothing. Well, I mean, of course they learn stuff, but they're not paying. So many of them don't pay attention. They don't care. They don't care about policies. They don't care about procedures. They don't care about these things. They are above the law. They don't apply to them. The rules don't apply to them. They're above that because of whatever their last name is, or because of their family members that are in positions where they can save their honeys. People who are never made to face their consequences of their actions end up committing worse and worse misconducts. So does that refresh your recollection of whether you had been talking to Sabrina Adkins or someone else? I believe it was Sabrina. Okay, and by dog collar, did you understand her to be referring to the ankle monitor? And Sabrina's the one who said it. The dog collar. Bless her, Jesus. Bless her, Lord. Bless her, Lord. That's probably how she felt. Like a dog wearing a collar that Ben had put on her. And did you have to put it back on for court so the judge and no one else would know that she wasn't actually didn't have an ankle monitor on anymore? Yes. I'm looking at the top of the page, marked numbers. You say you better be ready for your new collar. That is, LOL. By new collar, are you talking about the ankle monitor? Yes. Okay. Further down the page, you say, LOL, you do still owe me. What does she owe you? I can't remember. Okay, further down, you say, when you get here, let me, and I will let you know what door to come in. So what door did you want her to come in? I'm not for sure. Probably the front doors. And then you write, stay in your vehicle until I tell you. The judge is still around. Do you know which judge that would have been? I don't. But you didn't want her to come in into the courthouse until the judges were already gone, correct? Yes. And then later on the last page, it looks like you tell her that she is good to come in when she gets here. Do you recall which evening that? Did Sabrina Adkins actually show up this evening? If you can recall. I can't remember that. Do you recall this exchange with her? Not specifically. Was there ever anyone else in the courthouse that observed you and Sabrina in there? Not that I know of. I saw some reference AOC maybe had pulled some video recordings. Did you ever review any video recording of the courthouse from AOC? So that's who put those cameras in there And that's also who put the camera in Mullins's office after this fiasco, I'm pretty sure. I've not seen any of it. Okay, we will put this aside. Can we take a couple minutes? Sure. I'm going to hand you another document. I believe this is another communication between yourself and Sabrina Adkins, but her name is redacted. I'm just looking at the first page. It looks like you are asking this person, who I believe to be Sabrina Adkins, if she has a pair of scissors. She asks, why are you going to unalive me? You say, LOL. No, like that's funny. I need your box back. Do you see that? Mr. Kelly, it says I need my box back. My box back. Thank you. Do you see that? Yes. Does that refresh your recollection about whether you would have been having this conversation with Sabrina Adkins? I believe so. Okay. By your box back, are you talking about the ankle monitor? I believe so. And then it looks like towards the top of the next page, you told Miss Adkins that there was a large trailer with an air unit on it behind the courthouse, and she could leave it back there. Do you recall that? I see it here. Whose trailer is that back there? I'm not sure. Why did you ask her to leave it behind that trailer? I might not have been there. Do you have access to that trailer? I'm not sure what kind of trailer. I would say it was just a trailer that was parked there. Like a trailer that someone could live in? No, I think more of a pull behind trailer. Like a camping trailer? I don't think so. I would image it was more like what you would haul equipment on and stuff. Okay, do you remember going out to that trailer and retrieving the ankle monitor at some point? I don't remember. Okay, do you recall ever getting permission from Judge Kraft for Sabrina to go to Pike County? I can't remember. I believe so, but I'm not sure. And would there be any documentation to evidence that you made that request and it had been approved? I don't think so. Is that because that would have just been a verbal? If it had been a conversation, it would a verbal conversation? Possibly. Does that get noted anywhere within the court records? And remember, one thing we've learned through these depositions, there was a whole lot of verbal everything between the sheriff's office, the courthouse, the court, the security officers, the jail. Most unprofessional bunch I've ever seen. Does that get noted anywhere within the court records? I don't know about the court records. I would have changed the address on her paperwork. In my mind, I was asking just about a day trip to Pike County. But you are talking about if you had approved her to move to Pike County? Yes. And at some point, she did move back to Pike County, correct? Yes. So, just to specify, do you recall ever getting permission from either Judge Kraft or Judge Mullins for Sabrina to move back to Pike County? I can't remember. Had you gotten that permission, how would you have documented her change of address? I would have changed it on the paperwork. And what is the paperwork? The house arrest paperwork, where took address, phone number, information down on. Okay. Did you keep that kind of paperwork amongst your records? I would keep it until they got off house arrest. Where did you physically keep those files? It was like in a 3-ring binder. Where did that live? I usually kept it with me. So you took it home with you every night? Probably not every night. If you didn't take it home with you, where would it be? Sometimes I left it in the jury room at the courthouse. Did you give Patty Stockham a copy of all the records you had, or did you maintain the only copy of certain records? I would fill the paperwork out and then take a picture of it and send it to Patty. So you would just text her a picture? Yes. And that was okay with her, as far as you could tell? Uh-huh. Something else we learned in Mickey's deposition, that the entire time Mickey was working this job for the ankle monitor company didn't even have a bank account. How were they? So that you're taking all this cash, there's no bank account that you deposited in, and then they just send it out, once a month? I don't know. I'm still confused about that. But it doesn't sound like any of this is legitimate. It's crazy. I mean, to me, it feels like false imprisonment. They've had all these people imprisoned while they profit off of it in several different ways. But financially, I'm sure, follow the money. It's never failed me yet. Just so that I'm clear, what would be the names of all the different types of forms that you would have kept in that binder and texted to Patty? Honey, it was just one set of papers. Did he call her honey? It had their name on it, birthday, address, phone numbers for relatives. Would that be the application form? Yes. And what other forms might exist for someone on home incarceration? And what about privacy? What about all these people's privacy he's got just willy-nilly out anywhere? The only other form that I would have was the completion forms that I would fill out after they got off house arrest. Okay, so really just those two forms? Yes. And then I know that you kept receipts of income that you got in like a little receipt book. Yes. Where did that receipt book live with that binder? Where's the Letcher County Sheriff's Office? It is behind the courthouse. Okay. A different building, or the same building? A different building. Okay. How often would you be in and out of that building? It depends on the day. If it was a busy day and I needed to walk over for something, at some point Sabrina met your Uncle Bill Meade. Do you recall that? She mentioned about knowing him. You told Sabrina that your Uncle Bill Meade could help her with her charges. Do you recall telling her that? I don't. Does Bill Meade have any connection at the courthouse? Not that I'm aware of. Do you recall telling Sabrina on more than one occasion that she didn't have anything to worry about because you would speak to the judge for her about her criminal case? I don't remember. You don't recall saying that? No. Are you denying saying it, or are you saying that you don't recall? I don't recall saying that. Okay, were you aware that Bill Meade making similar statements that Sabrina didn't need to worry that he would speak to the judge for her about her criminal case? I'm not aware of that. And remember, Judge Jimmy Kraft is the one who brought Bill Meade to trial and sentenced him. So why is Bill Meade, and this was before, but why is Bill Meade touting his close relationship with Judge Jimmy Kraft? And then why didn't the judge recuse himself if he was that good of friends? Or were they not that good of friends And old Uncle Bill was just saying that. I don't know. Awful fishy. How often do you see your Uncle Bill Meade? Not much. Be more specific. Once a month, once a year. If I run into him stopping at a gas station, he stopped there, and I pull to get gas. If he is there, I will say hi. How are you doing? But okay, do you recall Stacy Yates filing an EPO complaint against Sabrina? I believe so. Okay, what do you recall about that? How did you become aware of it? I think he filed an EPO against her. I believe the judge asked if she was still on house arrest, and I told him yes, and he asked if I would serve it on her. I have got a copy of the court net. I don't think that I'm going to make this as an exhibit, but it might just be helpful for purposes of dates. It looks like the complaint from Stacy Yates that was filed against Sabrina Adkins was filed on January 11th. Is that correct? Do you see that? Yes. And it looks like this DV complaint was in Judge Mullins' court. Is that typical that he oversees DV issues? I believe all EPOs go through district court unless they are maybe pending a divorce hearing out of it. And then I think it goes up to circuit because of that. Circuit deals with divorces. A couple going through a divorce and there is a pending case and one of them gets an EPO, it goes to circuit, but I'm not sure. Okay. Were you present for a hearing, some sort of hearing where Stacy Yates was requesting this emergency protection order? I can't remember. Okay, at the time that this complaint was filed, Sabrina Adkins, according to the court records, was on home incarceration, correct? Yes. And according to the EKCS records, she had been taken off home incarceration, correct? Yes. So when were you first made aware of this EPO? I can't remember the exact date. Okay. Do you remember discussing with the Judge Kraft? I think so. What do you recall discussing with Judge Kraft? I think he was asking me, and I don't know if it was close to this date or a little bit afterwards, but asking me about what her address was. Okay. What was her actual address at that point? I can't remember, but I believe she was staying in, I'm not sure. I can't remember. According to the court records, did it still have Sabrina Adkins living at Stacy Yates's place? Mr. Kelly. According to the court records, did Judge Kraft seem to believe that she was still living with Stacy Yates? Note an objection. I don't know. Well, why was he asking about her address? I think it was where she was on house arrest. Okay, and what did you tell him? I think that I gave him the address that I had for her. Do you know what that was? I don't. Not off the top of my head, I don't. Did you talk about anything else with Judge Kraft related to Sabrina Adkins and this EPO issue? He told me to check the GPS and if she had left her residence and went to Stacy's to have her arrested for escape. So see, that right there just answers the questions she was just asking him. So the judge did not think she was at Stacy's house. Why didn't he just say that? And you couldn't check the GPS, could you? No. Did Jason Eccles know that you had let Sabrina remove her ankle monitor? No. He sure can't say yes. Did anybody else know that you had allowed Sabrina Adkins to take off her ankle monitor? Not that I know of. You never discussed it with anybody prior to, on, or before January 11th of 22. Nope. Did you ever discuss this EPO and this issue with Sabrina Adkins with Judge Mullins? I don't remember. Well, it looks like he oversaw this EPO issue. Do you see that? Yes. Would you have been the bailiff in the courtroom at that time that any hearing related to this took place? If I was working that day, I would have. But he worked Monday through Friday. If it wasn't you, who would it have been? Who would have been there? I'm not sure. How many bailiffs were there? Jason Eccles was the bailiff upstairs, but now if one of us had missed and they had to get somebody, they would use a regular deputy for bailiffs also. Okay. Or sometimes they would get the jail. If they had to bring a prisoner up, the jail guards would bring them up sometimes and watch them. So you don't have any recollection, at least at being present for any hearings related to this EPO. Not that I can think of. So what did you report back to Judge Kraft after he told you to check Sabrina's GPS? I believe that I told him that her GPS was messed up and I couldn't get any information on it. And I couldn't prove that she had left or if she hadn't. And that was a lie, correct? Yes. Did you tell anybody else that same thing aside from Judge Kraft? No, not that I remember. Okay, I have another document, and I think you produced this one. I think you produced these, and these are some text messages between yourself and I believe Jason Eccles. Is that correct? Yes. Looks like he is asking you what address do you have for Sabrina? Yes. And you just wrote back, call me. So did he call you? I can't remember. I could have been driving, and I try not to message and drive at the same time. Sheesh. I would often hit C, it pull up, call me, and I would just send it without having to type anything out. So this was one day after the order for emergency protection had been issued in the Yates versus Adkins case, correct? I guess it was January 12th. And you wrote back and gave him an address in Pikeville, correct? Yes. Do you recall having any kind of conversation with Jason about Sabrina's address and this EPO issue? I'm thinking that I was driving and he called me. And I told him that I would text it to him as soon as I got pulled and could get the address. Okay. And then he asks, did you say you was going to serve the EPO on Sabrina? Yes. Did you serve an EPO on Sabrina or did you intend to? I intended to. So he was even going to serve her EPO on her. Okay. Did you ever do that? I can't remember. And then he asks, when did she change her address? Was her address ever on Perkins Branch? Is Perkins Branch in Letcher County? I believe so. Is that Stacy Yates's address or is that some other address? I think that was the original address of Stacy Yates. So if that was the case, that means Ben never put Dale's address in there for her. So if we follow his words, his own testimony, Stacy Yates, as soon as Sabrina is released on house arrest from the jail, she goes to Stacy Yates's house, and Stacy's in rehab somewhere. He's not even there at that point. And he calls Ben or Jason Eccles, one of them, somebody, and says, hey, I don't want her staying at my house. How did he even know she was going there if he was in rehab? And so then Ben and Jason Eccles get in their vehicle and they drive all the way out there to this place to find her and tell her she's not allowed to stay there. And then they asked him, he admitted to it, he sends a message to this Yates guy, or the Dale guy, and says, hey, can Sabrina stay at your place? So he finds her a new place to stay, and then he don't change the address. None of this is adding up. Okay, and then you write back, yes, it was in Perkins Branch. She changed it after the incident that brought up the EPO. Do you see that? Yes. Well, that ain't true. But that is not true, was it? I guess not. Well, you're the one that... Because she changed her address within a couple of days of being put on home incarceration to Dale Martin's house, correct? Yes. So why did you tell him she only had changed her address from Perkins Branch sometime in January of 22? I don't know. So as of January 12th, did Jason Eccles know anything about your relationship with Sabrina? No. Objection. Did you ever talk to him about your relationship with Sabrina sometime after January 12th? No. Were you aware that Stacey Yates had a relationship with Brianna Cornett? I was not. See, that just shows you, like within drug court, they all, date each other. So these two might break up, and then this one will date this one, and this one will date this one, and then they break up, and then this one dates that one, and this one dates that one. It's no different than like the AA rooms or the NA rooms. That 13th stepping ain't a good idea. Did you at any point become aware of the fact that Stacey Yates reported your relationship with Sabrina Adkins to Robbie Kinser in the drug court? I didn't know about it. Did you know about it before that I just said that today? Yes, I believe that it might have been in the discovery. Okay, so you became aware of that through discovery in the criminal case, is that correct? Do you mean the criminal or the civil case? I'm not sure. And based on that discovery, was it your understanding that he reported it to Judge Kraft? Objection. I can't remember exactly what it said. Okay. At some point, you filed a criminal complaint against Sabrina Adkins, correct? Yes. Why did you decide to do that, to file that criminal complaint? I was trying to get Sabrina to come in and put an ankle monitor on her after the EPO incident to try to cover everything up, and I couldn't ever get her to come in. Okay, and so you swore out this complaint, criminal complaint. Well, before he took his happy hind end right out there looking for her. How many times did he do that? Well, he couldn't do it this time? It just don't make no sense. He's running that cruiser anywhere he can any other time. But when it's and saying it was for work, so when he would really have a purpose to go try and find her, he don't try. He just puts out an escape warrant. That tells me there's a whole bunch of BS going on. How many times have you done that? I'm not sure. Okay, more than 10, I would say. Did any of those prior criminal complaints that you swore include false information? No. Did this one include some false information, though? Sorry. Did this criminal complaint include some false information? Yes. Yes. It includes some false information? Yes. And why did you put her in that? Sabrina Adkins was supposed to report to Letcher County Sheriff's Office. I'm not sure why they put that in there. Who is they? The county attorney that types this up. So that would have been Jamie Hatton. But you are the one that signed it as a true and accurate statement, correct? Yes. And I also see under the signature line that it says Ben Fields, LCSO. So were you signing this in your capacity as a Letcher County Sheriff's deputy? Where's that at? His lawyer says. Do you see where? Oh, right up here. Yeah. I guess it is not signed. It has got your name typed out. I am looking above. Just where I had my uniform on when I went over to get the complaint. Okay, so does it mean CW, if you know? Complaining witness, maybe? That makes sense. Did you ever direct Sabrina Adkins to report to the Letcher County Sheriff's Office? No. Who is Angela Trent? I believe that she works for the county attorney's office. And did you work the county attorney related to this complaint? See, that don't make no sense. And did you work the county attorney related to this complaint? That is where that you go to get or swear out warrants. Okay. I have never done that. So I am just curious on how that works. You go over to the county attorney's office, you explain the situation, and then they decide what charge and if it justifies a warrant. Okay. And just because it is redacted, was this the criminal complaint that you swore out related to the offender, Sabrina Adkins? I believe so. So once this criminal complaint is signed by you, what is your understanding of what happens next? It is sent to the judge for his signature, and a warrant is generated. You knew there was going to be a warrant if you knew, I guess is what it means. As a result of your criminal complaint, correct? Yes. During this time period, do you recall reaching out to Sabrina and asking her to come and turn herself in on the EPO? I can't remember. Do you remember what, if any, communications you were having with Sabrina in January of 22? I don't. At some point, Sabrina was arrested, correct? Yes. And she was arrested for escape, correct? That's a big charge. I mean, that's like a felony charge, I'm pretty sure. Escape is bad. And if you get escape and stuff like that on your history, like, you don't get bond. You don't usually get bond after that because they see that and they think that, you can't be trusted to be let out on a bond. Pretty sure that's a felony. Based on the complaint that you generated, yes, she was arrested in Pike County. Were you aware of that? I think so. Were you aware that your Uncle Bill Meade reached out to Sabrina after that she got out of jail and told her that she needed to ask her lawyers to back off this case? Objection. Did you know that he did that? Well, I did not. Did you ask him to do that? No. Were you in communication with Bill Meade at any point during this time period? No. So when did you first become aware of the fact that Sabrina Adkins had filed this lawsuit? I can't remember if it was the end of January or the 1st of February. I believe it came out in the news. Before you read it in the newspaper, did you talk to Mickey Stines about it? I think he is the one that contacted me and told me that it was in the news. Okay. What did he tell you? That a lawsuit had been filed? Did he tell you anything beyond that? Not initially. So Mickey Stines was the first person to tell you about the lawsuit, correct? Yes. Okay. Did he first call up on the phone or did he tell you that in person? I think that he called me on the phone. Okay. How long did that conversation last? I don't believe long. Where were you when you received that phone call? I was in Pike County. Why were you in Pike County? I had my daughter at a dentist appointment. Okay, did you go back that same day and speak to Sheriff Stines about this issue? I believe by the time that I got done at the dentist and made it back to Whitesburg, it was all over the news and Facebook. He wanted to speak to me. Okay, so did you speak to him? Yes. Where were you when you had that conversation? I think the sheriff's office. Okay, does he have his own personal office within the sheriff's office? Yes. Were you in his office? I think so. What did he say? He told me that he had read and told me about what it had said because I still had not read it. Okay. And that is about it. Really. Did he ask you whether any of it was true? Yes. And what did you tell him? I told him no. You told him that it was not true? Yes. Man, if he really did tell Mickey no, I didn't do that. You know, Mickey, which I'm not saying it's true, but you know he would probably feel really let down, disappointed, because you know he'd probably go to bat for his friend and his officer, wouldn't he? He'd believe him, or he'd want to believe him, but that's just a thought. Is there any more detailed discussion? I don't think there is any detailed discussion. How long of a conversation was that? It wasn't long. Okay. I would say less than 5 minutes. Had Sheriff Stines spoken to Patty Stockham before he had spoken to you? I don't know. He didn't give you any indication of whether he had or had not to Miss Stockham? No. Okay. I guess we will make this an exhibit. Do you recognize this document? Yes. So did he hand you this document during that 5-minute meeting that you were just testifying about? I don't think so. When did you get a hold of this memorandum? I can't remember. Did he tell you during that first meeting that you were to be put on leave or suspended without pay? I believe so. I had my pew-pew with me and my badge, and I gave that back to him. Okay. Did Sheriff Stines tell you anything else about anyone else that he had spoken to that day prior to speaking to you? Not that I can remember. Is that Sheriff Stines' signature there? Looks like it. SP. So, he called you on the phone. You went and met with him very briefly. Did you have any other communications with him on that day? Not that I can remember. And on that day, were you told that you were being suspended with pay or without pay? It would have been without pay. Okay. And then, did he tell you that he had spoken to the county attorney about this issue? I can't remember. He might have. Okay. Did he tell you anything about why you were being suspended without pay? I guess he had consulted with the county attorney, and that is what he advised. You know, what about the next day? Do you know whether that initial conversation in person, did that occur on January 31st? It could. That is the day that it came out. That is the day that the lawsuit was filed. Okay. Were given any other documents related to your suspension without pay aside from the memorandum? I can't remember. Were you told anything about an administrative investigation, or was the sheriff's office intending to do any kind of investigation related to all of this? I don't know. You were told anything about that? No. Was there anybody present at that meeting aside from you and Sheriff Stines? No. And then, where did you, after you left the sheriff's office that day? I can't remember. I think maybe home. Okay. Who did you talk to that evening? What do you mean? Who did you talk to on the evening of the 31st, if you can recall? I don't really recall. Okay. The letter that you have got in front is dated February 2nd, 22, terminating your employment. I'm wondering, did you have any communication or interaction with anyone from the sheriff's office on February 1st? I don't believe so. I don't remember. Do you know the dates of the week? I don't. On February 2nd, how did you receive a copy of this letter? This is the letter that he handed to me when I was in the parking lot. Okay, so what parking lot was that? I think that I was parked in the funeral home parking lot, which is right just a road between it and the courthouse parking spots. Okay. Did he ask you to come there? Thank you. No. Why were you there? I think I was there waiting on my wife to get off work. I wondered about that. Just to stop for a second. I wondered why he was there in the parking lot the day after he had gotten suspended and found it all out. Because if I had just gotten caught doing all that, I would be hiding under the covers. You know, I wouldn't want to show my face nowhere. I'd be so ashamed and just anxiety-filled mess. And I wondered, you know, why would he be there? And how would you be talking to your buddy about it? Like, I think about my friend Allison. You know, if I did something that was wrong, I would tell her. I'd tell her exactly what I did. I'd tell my mommy if I did something, and then I might not would tell her until I got caught. But once I got caught, once I got caught, I would probably tell my mom what I did. But I'd sure be telling my friend. But that's me. Not everybody's the same. Not everybody's the same. Butterfly Kisses says, I truly do believe that Mickey, Ben, Angie, Judge Mullins, and some others were all involved in this mess. No way you could be employed there and not know or be involved. And why were they so... Like we learned last night in Ben's deposition that his wife put her application in for a court-designated worker. So that little bit has been cleared up. I always heard that she was somehow involved in the juvenile court, but we learned last night in the deposition she's considered a court-designated worker. And it just, you know, just surprises me that they would continue after he had caused all this mess, that they continued to, like the jailer, making him a trustee and making him, you know, they knew what he'd done. They knew what he did. And they still were backing him up They knew they had to fire him. They knew they had to get rid of him. And I don't think they really saw any civil suits in their future at all. Because I think they've been able to bat them down. You know, when Alicia filed hers, they got it dismissed. They were able to bat it down. Anytime anybody has tried to come forward, it's been batted down. Nothing happens. And even this, say it again, he got 6 months. He didn't have many consequences. His wife got a better job, got a promotion. I mean, I don't know. All right. And Sheriff Stines handed you this letter? Yes. Did he say anything to you about your years of service or about these allegations or anything? I think that he just made reference that he hated about everything, and that is it. Have you spoken to Patty Stines? See, that's not even the right word. Last name. Patty Stockham, not Patty Stines. On or before February 2nd about this complaint? That answers the question for anybody who had put, I saw a comment earlier that asked if they were doing like an auto reader. Are we sure that this wasn't typed up by an auto reader of some kind? Well, I'm sure that it didn't say Patty Stines unless she said it. Now, the lawyer could have gotten the words wrong. That I didn't think about that. So that could have been the lawyer's mistake. Have you spoken to Patty Stines on or before? Oh, see there. Right, I just didn't read far enough. Patty Stockham, you mean? Patty Stockham, yes. I think that I did. I contacted her and told her what was going on, and she decided that it was that I was no longer over the house arrest. Oh. I contacted her and told her what was going on, and she decided that it was that I was no longer over the house arrest. Well, now that's a little bit different than what was in Mickey's deposition. I don't remember when we read Mickey's, I don't remember them saying anything about Ben talking to Patty. So that's interesting. But what is going on? Did you tell her that you had lied to her and let Sabrina Adkins off house arrest back in August? No. Did you tell her that you had had sexual relations with Sabrina Adkins in the courthouse? No. Were you aware that Stines had had a conversation on February with the jailer, Bert Sloan? I don't recall that. I guess your wife was working at the jail on February 2nd because that is why that you are waiting for her in the parking lot, correct? She was working in the courthouse. So she had already gotten a new job at the courthouse? Yes. Okay. Do you know anything? Any investigations or complaints related to inmates in the jail that would concern you? No. And so, to the best of your recollection, you were terminated from your employment with EKCS on February 2nd. Also, I would so. If not, maybe the 1st. I might have called Patty the 1st and told her. I can't remember, really. I might have called her the night of the 31st and told her what was going on. I can't remember. But he wasn't telling her the truth of it all. Okay. Do you recall being interviewed by Attorney General Investigator Matt Easter and Detective Shannon Blevins? I can't remember their names, but I remember being interviewed. Where did that interview occur? In the Taco Bell parking lot. Why, there. I was in Whitesburg, and they called me, and they had went to my residence where that I lived at, and no vehicles was there. So they contacted me and told me who they were and said, "Can we meet somewhere?" And I said, "Well, I'm in Whitesburg. I can meet you anywhere that you want." He said, "Well, there's a Taco Bell across from a gas station." And I said, "I'll be there waiting on you." I would think that those detectives would have set up a meeting with him, like he would know that they were coming. It kind of seems like a surprise visit, doesn't it? Okay. How long did that conversation last? I don't know. That's not good enough. I would say over an hour. Okay, you ultimately plead guilty to some charges related to Sabrina Adkins allegations, correct? Yes. Let me look at my notes. So am I correct that you plead guilty to R in the third degree, S in the third degree, tampering with prisoner monitoring device, and perjury in the second, based on charges related to Sabrina Adkins? No. This includes Jennifer, too. It was my understanding that the charges related to Jennifer Hill were dismissed. Yes. My question to you is, and we'll go one by one, did you plead guilty to R in the third degree related to claims made by Sabrina Adkins? Yes. Did you plead guilty because you are guilty? Well, did you plead guilty because you committed the crime? Yes. Did you plead guilty to a charge of S in the third degree related to complaints made by Sabrina Adkins? Yes. And did you plead guilty to that charge because you are guilty of that charge? Yes. Did you plead guilty to a charge of tampering with prisoner monitoring devices related to complaints made by Sabrina Adkins? Yes. Did you plead guilty because you are guilty? Yes. And finally, did you plead guilty to a charge of perjury in the second degree? Yes. Did you plead guilty to that charge? Was it related to Sabrina Adkins's complaints? That is my problem. One of them was for Brianna Freeman. It is my understanding that the perjury related to the filing of the criminal complaint. Yes. And you filed a criminal complaint related to Sabrina Adkins, correct? Yes. And did you plead guilty to that charge or perjury related to that complaint against Sabrina Adkins because you are guilty of perjury in the second degree? Yes. The tampering was the one for Brianna. There was one for Brianna, yes. I may been finished. I would like to take a break. I would like to talk to my client. 10 minutes. I just have a couple more questions. Almost finished. You talked to Mickey Stines on February 2nd when he terminated you. Have you ever at any time after February 2nd spoken to Mickey Stines about anything related to this case? No. Have you spoken to any of your other former sheriff deputy colleagues at any point after you were terminated about this case? No. Or any of the facts underlying in this case? No. I think that is all I have. You didn't include his wife in that question. You didn't work with your wife as a sheriff's deputy officer. His wife never worked for the Letcher County Sheriff's Department. Don, do you have anything? No, John, I don't. This is Mr. Shaw. I just have a couple of quick ones. I didn't see in the messages the exchange where Miss Adkins was providing you photos of her cleavage and telling you that she gets what she wants and things of that nature. Do you remember exchanging those messages with her? Yes, I remember seeing those. All right. Were you aware at the time that she was sending you those messages that she already had an attorney involved? I was not. Object to form. She was represented by counsel, so that was your client's testimony. I think that we covered this, but the police cruisers, you took a police cruiser home because as court security, you would also serve papers in the evenings occasionally. Yeah, right. Nobody in Letcher County serves anything unless it's something that that like Mickey would have to go out and do. I don't see this gummy running around serving papers in the evening time, but that's just me. Yes, if we had civil papers or something to serve on people, if it was on my way home, see, he'd do it on his way home. He wasn't taking no time from home to go do that. I don't see that.
Oh,
I would use Sally stop and serve. See, I mean, that doesn't even make any sense. It was on my way home. I would, maybe usually, that's supposed to be usually stop and serve. You have to transport prisoners at times, because that's something else we learned in last night's reading of this deposition. Ben had a cruiser. He wasn't allowed to arrest anybody unless it was in the courthouse. That's as far as his authority for arresting. That was the limit. He was only allowed to do it in the courthouse. Why does he have a cruiser? Well, he says so he can come to and from work. Any of you guys out there who have had a company vehicle for anything, it's usually not for transportation to and from work. Usually you have to drive your own transportation if the vehicle is somewhere else. But if you don't have any purpose for it, if there's no purpose for you to have that vehicle, why do you have it? He also said he had a gas card, y'all. Why would Ben Fields have a freaking gas card from the sheriff's department? Sounds to me like there was a whole lot of financial fraud, waste, and abuse. And it's not just in the sheriff's department. Yes, I would have to leave early in the morning and go somewhere to get a prisoner and bring them back. And even though you are court security, were you also on call for emergency situations? Yes. This is their lawyers. I don't know if Mr. Shaw was the ankle monitor company lawyer or I think he's the ankle monitor company lawyer, but he's one of the defendant lawyers. He's not prosecutor and lawyer. If it was after hours and you would go out and check on someone, I wasn't sure if you were test running. Would you drive our personal vehicle? Most often. So you're driving the sheriff's department vehicle back and forth to work. But if you go and see somebody for house arrest later, you drove your own vehicle, which is what he was supposed to do. But a lot of times he was in that sheriff's deputy cruiser. And were the times that you were stopping on the way home or between work at the courthouse and home, if something came up, then you would drive the cruiser? Yes. And maybe in uniform? Yes. Okay. The work at the courthouse, what time did it generally end your shift as court security? usually at 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock or a little before. We're almost done, y'all. Earlier, you testified that you kind of shadowed Mickey Stines for a while. The home incarceration services? Yeah. So that was after work hours? Yes. Or after your work hours with the sheriff's department? Yes. I will pass the witness. I don't have any more questions. Done. All right. So that is it. That's all of it.
Praise God.
Tell me about it. All right. What do you guys think? Let's get some of these comments up here. What do you think about it, Mommy?
Oh, I think they really need to clean house with some of those people. And I think they need to track down where that money went. That doesn't mean that I am saying anything negative against the current sheriff, because I'm not. I sort of like him a lot. And I like his wife a lot. I know her. And she wouldn't tolerate for none of that stuff that we have heard's been going on. If she knew about it, she'd be, she'd be on his case.
I don't think Mickey's wife would tolerate any of it. I mean, there's several of them's women, I bet, have flipped out over all this stuff.
Well, that one that was going that one that was in jail down there, his wife had to know that. And so did his sister and all those others of his family that worked there, because they gossiped about that down there, that courthouse, all the time. Or at least I'd have been right in there gossiping if I was working there. I mean, it's good gossip.
The courthouse has always been a hot spot for gossip.
I didn't know that. I would have thought that they would have been very proper.
I did too.
Well, I just can't believe that people would know about that kind of stuff and tolerate it. I'd have been calling the FBI or somebody and said, Lord, this is what's going down here. We need to do something about this.
But the sad thing is there have been people contacting the FBI. There have been people contacting the Attorney General's office. There have been people that have been doing that for a long time, and they get no response. Nobody ever believed it.
I guess you get discouraged after a while, don't you?
They do.
And you just say, well, it ain't going to do no good.
Cinnamon says, running into Uncle at the gas station. Well, hell, did you buy him a tank of gas too on the taxpayers? So either the post office or the gas station would have the records of who purchased and who cashed the money orders. I'm telling you, Cinnamon says, where are the charges on that uncle?
I think he's in jail, didn't he?
What? But not for this. He didn't.
Well, but I mean, he's in jail. What's he in jail for?
Because he messed with that 14-year-old girl that was apparently his.
Well, I'm glad that her mother did something about that, because that it had to be her.
Well, and she's the one who's been retaliated against by not letting her, or at least that's how I see it, by not letting her go to her mother's candlelight vigil while she was on house arrest. I think that's dirty.
Well, that girl's mother wasn't on house arrest, was she?
That's the way that I read it last night.
Oh, Lordy.
Unless I misunderstood that, but that's
Did she live with her grandma?
I don't know. I have no idea. It was just reading that deposition yesterday, and the questions that Sabrina's lawyer asked him about Bill, his uncle Bill Meade, and Was he aware that this, and he said her name, was he aware that this woman was in a romantic relationship with his Uncle Bill? And did he remember her asking him for permission to go to her mother's candlelight vigil? And do you remember denying her request?
Well, that's just cruel and unusual. Nobody needs to do that kind of stuff. You ought to be as kind as you can.
LS says they pay by money order payable to the company. They had court records to record dates on and off home incarceration, so they knew how much was to be paid. Oh yeah, they knew how much there was to be paid. You better believe it. There would be no bank account in Letcher. Right. Well, Mickey said he didn't have a bank account to deposit the money into. And if I remember his deposition correctly, there was no bank account. Like Ben, I think, was depositing the money into an account, if I remember correctly. And Mickey, I thought he said they had no, because Mickey was the first one to do it. So this was, he had 15 years or 12 of doing this job. And he said there was no bank account. And if I remember what he said right, he said that he had to send it, like, I guess they just held it all together and then they'd send it once a month. Did she live in Pikeville? Where's Patty Stockham live? Where's this company based out of, is what I'd like to know. Is it in Kentucky? Is it in Letcher County, Pike County, a surrounding county, or is it all the way across the state? I don't know. June says, Sweet Tater is taking it all in. Butterfly Kisses. He called her honey, trying to get on her good side. Like,
That was derogatory.
I thought it was too.
I call people honey. When I go through McDonald's, I say, thank your sweetheart. I sugar and honey people. That's Kentucky kinds of stuff. But in that case, he was being derogatory.
I thought so too. He wasn't saying it no other time. We say it all the time. He didn't say that was the only time he was saying it.
But we're old women. I'm an old woman, so I'm allowed.
Jessica says y'all gonna see every cop driving around with their own porta potty attached to the back of the cruisers.
Can you imagine all them women that went in there in them toilets? His wife? Is that for real?
And he said what he said in the deposition didn't make any sense. He contradicted himself. Or, I don't know if it was contradiction, but it sure didn't make any sense. He said the lawyer asked him if they were working at the same time. Yeah, they were working in the jail together, him and her, at that time.
Why on earth would you go in a toilet and have that kind of an activity with your wife? Why don't you just go home?
Well, he said that they worked the same shift. And it was after they had gotten off work. Well, if you work the same shift, I thought he was trying to say they worked different shifts. So they were just trying to get them in a quick in between because they never got
if I was in an ornery mood, you know what I'm saying? And I can go in the judge's office and have sex, I might do it. You know what I'm saying? Just because it's like a little sneaky thing. I went to a swimming pool and went swimming naked one time.
Oh, mommy.
I did. It was a college swimming pool in Ohio. And this guy said, let's go. He had keys and he said, let's go swimming. And so we did. And we took our clothes off and went swimming. That was naughty.
And you probably had a great time, didn't you?
Oh, I like being naughty, because it didn't hurt anybody.
I know. Larry says all of the pictures I've seen of Ben, he looks like a dude that aids women in the bathroom.
Well, I've been looking for a picture of him. Has anybody seen one?
Yeah, I got all kinds of them.
And I've been looking for a picture of the woman that's still in the lawsuit, the one that didn't die. Sabrina, is that her name? I've been looking for a picture of her.
I got some. Let me
I just wonder what they look like. I mean, are they so beautiful that people just fall over in front of them, or are they just desperate?
These are crimes of opportunity, Mommy. This guy has done this because it was available.
Because he could inflict pain and torture on other people.
Well, you got to remember, too, that it's not necessarily the smacks that gets these people's juices flowing. It's the power. It's probably the fact that he knows he could get away with it. You know, how many people can go
going in that swimming pool? I guess it's the same, isn't it?
Well, no, it's not really the same. What you did, you went skinny dipping.
Yeah, but I was being naughty. Maybe he's just being naughty.
All right, so here's, I'm going to send a couple of them to
me.
No, I'm going to send them, and then I'm going to put them up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. See, I've got Ben's registration photo. So this is the picture.
On his driver's license?
No, on his sex offender.
Oh. Well, let's see what he looks like. Let's see if I'm tempted.
I doubt you'll be tempted too much.
Well,
you'd
have to have 4 legs and go, roo, 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 roo. And I might be tempted to set him on my lap. My little babies are over there asleep someplace, waiting on me to take them to bed.
I know.
I got 3 dogs and 4 cats. But my one cat won't come in and live with me. But she's real happy with me because I've got her a heating pad for cats.
Yeah.
And I put it on top of a thing that they get up on. It's a climbing thing, you know. And so I put it on top, put lots of rags around so she can have the rags in front of her.
Yeah.
And she just curls up there, and every time I go in the kitchen, she gets up in the window and I have to take her some food. So I feed her wet cat food, and the others have to eat dry cat food. But I do give them what she leaves because I feel bad because she won't come in the house and live with me. But that's because of the dogs. I love my animals.
I know.
And they love me.
Yep, we sure do. Love
It's not going to snow no more, you know.
Do what?
It ain't going to snow no more.
All right, so I got a picture here that will show you guys who pretty much all of them are.
Okay.
So this is a photo of the sheriff's. Let me see if I can get it all up there. Okay.
Daggone.
All right, so we're going to go from left to right, okay? In the very back row on the left, far left, that's Jason Eccles.
Okay.
Then the one in the middle in the back row is Mickey. That's
Okay.
Mickey Stines with a mustache. On the far right is Ben Fields, all the way to
Oh,
that's him
well,
in his
he
office.
looks better than I thought he did.
Now, the one up front or in the middle row, Alan, get her in there. The
On the
left, the middle row, all the way to the left is the new sheriff. That's Billy Jones.
Now, I like him a lot.
Alan,
Hush.
not like that, son. Get her in there and stop it.
Elizabeth.
Well, I'm sorry. The middle, the very middle guy, sometimes you got to be a mom, you know. The guy in the very middle is James Norris. That's Deputy Norris. He's the young one. He's the one that was accused of pulling over Jennifer Hill's boyfriend the evening after he
Cattle.
he went in and tried to tell Mickey about Ben, and the guy says that later that day, after he tried to tell it, he was pulled over 4 different times by 4 different officers or 4 different people associated. And one of them that he said pulled him over, and it's in the civil lawsuit. It's filed in the civil suit that it was Deputy Norris and a female deputy. Now, the only other female deputy that I know of is this one here in the front. That's Lexi Stambaugh, I think is her last name. But I've
Which
not heard.
one is she?
She's the very middle at the bottom.
Okay.
She's the only one female that's got the vest on.
Yeah.
But now everything I've heard about her, I've not heard anybody ever say the first bad word about her. Everybody's that I've heard have said good things about her. But she wasn't there very long. I don't remember her being there very long.
Oh,
Now,
she's gone now?
yeah, she's not there no more. The one on the bottom, okay, so the 2 women on both ends on the bottom. The one on the right hand, that's LaShawna. She's been there for what, the last 2 or 3 sheriffs. She's the only one that knows how to keep the office running. So she's kind of like the office manager.
So who's the one on the left?
The one on the left, I think, is her new assistant. So LaShawna ended up getting her an assistant. And so I think that's her assistant. I don't know her name.
So who's the guy behind LaShawna?
I don't know that guy's name. I don't know which one he is, but that's one of the deputies.
So the only one I know for sure that's still there is the Jones boy.
Yeah, well, him and the females. Now, do you see the 2 women on both sides on the bottom? You see their uniforms? Let me take that off. That is their uniform. When they asked Mickey in his deposition which women who worked for the sheriff's department wore uniforms, because Jennifer Hill's boyfriend said when James Norris pulled him over that night, he had a female deputy or a female in a uniform.
Yeah.
With him.
Yeah.
So the lawyer asks him, "What females do you have that work for you?" Mickey told him. He asked if they wore uniforms. He said, I remember him saying, well, what kind of uniform? But I thought he was pretty much saying no, that these women, the 2 on the side here, did not wear a uniform. But every single time I've ever seen them, they've been in one of these polo shirts or something. That's still a uniform. It's not a road deputy uniform, but it's still a sheriff's department uniform. So that was just one of the things that I picked up on. Now this is Ben. Let's see if I can. Well, it's not going to let me make it bigger. But that's Ben. That's just kind of a.
Well, he doesn't look too disgusting.
This
that?
That's Ben. That's how
Oh.
much he's changed. That right there is the photograph on his sex offender registry.
Well, he looks all right there too. He doesn't look like a.
He's lost weight.
He doesn't look like a criminal.
Here is his registry photograph. And it's just got his dates and stuff like that there. This is Sabrina Adkins.
Bless her heart, Jesus.
Now, that is that's an old photograph. I looked at the dates on these whenever I was pulling them. And
you can tell she's been victimized in her life a lot. You can just see the pain and suffering in her face.
Well, now here's a better picture of her. I think this one was after.
Well, she looks better there because she might have been, in jail. And
this is the booking date on this photo. It says February 14th, 2024. So she was booked on Valentine's Day.
Well, I wonder what the date on that one is.
I didn't get it on that one, so I don't know. But so
who's that up there with them kids or with them dogs? I know it.
That's you
with 2 doggies.
Yeah. So, but that's the pictures that I have of them. I got some more, but it takes too long to dig all through all that
Well,
stuff.
I got to go to bed. I was so sorry for the mess. I wish that they had just done their job and not done all that stuff. They didn't really need to do all that stuff.
No. I mean
it's not like they got millions of dollars or something out of it.
We all have to work. We all have to have jobs and provide for our families.
But you shouldn't be doing that kind of stuff to other people.
No, you sure shouldn't. Somebody made a comment because I had said something that I didn't know how literate some like Mickey was. I don't know how well he could read or write, and stuff like that. And they said, well, literacy doesn't have anything to do with knowing not to essay people. Literacy doesn't have anything to do with,
I don't know why he did that. My judgment on it is out still. I know it was wrong, and I know how it looked, but I'm still waiting.
Yeah. Hit that like button for us, y'all.
Well, I'm going to bed, you all. Y'all have a good night's sleep.
All right, Mommy. I'll see you later. Okay. So let me go over to our email and see. I don't think we got anybody wanting to come on, y'all. See who we got. Do we got anybody that wants to come on and share any opinions or thoughts? Well, heck, we didn't have anybody that wanted to. All right, guys. See, that's one of the things, a lot of people are afraid to talk. Well, I thought that we would have women that would come forward now, because usually when you have a few that'll come forward, you've got others that'll come forward. But when they see that there's nothing gonna happen, when they see that nothing's gonna happen, and they have to live here, they don't want nobody to know what they've done. They don't want people, I'd say half of them's married, so they've got husbands, they've got children. They don't want their kids knowing what they've done. It's just sad. It's really, really sad, y'all. Well, tomorrow we will do like a breakdown of all of the depositions. I'll try and go through and pull some talking points of each. And if anybody wants to come on at the end of our shows, I think I'll start offering that so we can get some different opinions, see what everybody's thinking. Let's see. Shay Day, my girl. I mean, it's sad. I can say I spent a lot of my time upstairs, Judge Kraft's offices and Mike Watt's offices. Judge Kraft never went downstairs in that smoke room. Yeah, I didn't think Judge Kraft ever took part in any of that either. And Judge Kraft smoked. But I never saw him near that smoke room. I never saw Judge Kraft one day ever even be associated with what was going on downstairs for anything. I've never seen Judge Kraft downstairs, I don't think. And, Mike Watts, we love Mike. Mike's a good dude. I've seen Mike do the right thing when it wasn't necessarily popular with his buddies. I've seen him do it. I've seen his son Michael do the right thing. My vision of that was a little bit differently. I physically saw with my own eyes and heard with my own ears Mike Sr. do the right thing when it was needed. Michael was more behind the scenes, but anytime I've ever needed to talk to Michael, he's listened to me. He made me feel like he heard me. He didn't make me feel like he wasn't paying attention or I wasn't important, even if he couldn't do anything. Even if Michael couldn't do anything, he still didn't dismiss me. People can be very dismissive of you and make you feel, like it's hopeless. But, and we all have different opinions. We all have different experiences, but those have been my experiences. I think very highly of them. I can't believe Michael Watts did not get appointed our new Commonwealth attorney. Very disappointed at that decision. I don't know if he even wanted it. He might not have wanted it. I don't know. But I think he would have been a much better choice. That's who I would have voted for anyway. All right. Well, you guys have a great rest of your evening. And we will see you guys in the morning. Just to give you a little heads up, if you want some excitement in this trial, on Trial Watch, we are watching the Rose Petal trial. And the defendant got up on the stand today, confessed, and threw his buddy under the bus. There's all kinds of really exciting stuff happening today. So tomorrow is going to be a really good trial watching day. All right, you guys. Well, we will see you in the evening or tomorrow. My dogs are going nuts. All right. Stay warm, everybody. Stay dry. Stay blessed. And peace out, Girl Scout.